Hi there. So I want to talk about something really quickly, and it's electronic harassment. Um, Unfortunately, I'm gonna start what made me decide to make do this upload. Somebody left a comment under one of my videos about how they've been going through a severe psychosis and feeling like they've been having hallucinations, and how it's hard to walk out the door because they feel tired and things like that, and how they've been trying to explain it to their parents, but their parents say to pray. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't have an issue with prayer if that's what somebody believes, if that's what they strongly believe, and that's what they do for themselves when they are in having problems. Then I don't have an issue with them giving you that advice. My only issue comes when they brush off your experiences. I stopped talking to my family because you see, I see that we're going through different things. All of us are dealing with, most of us are dealing with electronic harassment, but it's in different ways. I was listening to a lady being interviewed by Quatita Dean. Her channel is called A Walk with the Ancestors, and she also goes by The Governess. And it was months ago. It was last year, so it was months ago because we were in the sixth month in 2024, and this was last year. That this lady talked about how she was going through some things. Now, granted, she took the jab, but it doesn't matter because I've been going through a lot of things and I didn't take it, so I don't even know if that matters. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if it matters. Uh, I feel like no. I'm gonna finish saying what I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna say what I've come to know. Okay. But she talked about how she was hearing like clickings and stuff going on in her, and but other people beside her could hear it. So the thing about her and me is the stuff that I can hear and things that's going on. I'm the only one that can hear and you feel it. But other people around her, this lady was able to hear what was going on with her. And she kept feeling like she was being experimented on, but she couldn't see it. But like something was cutting, doing experiments on her. So it got to a point where something made her bleed, and it was a lot of banging going on her head. Nobody could see it. You couldn't see it, but she could feel it. Banging going on her head, like she was used as an experiment. And her husband was like, I believe it's the government. And I believe that he is absolutely right. I do believe that it is the government, and I believe that she is used as an experiment. I wouldn't mind talking to that lady to see what she's going through now. But anyway, yeah, and so she kept talking to her family, and it's not like they didn't believe what she was saying. It's almost like they almost didn't care. I remember her son. I could tell that her son understood what she was saying, because her son talked about how he was said, why don't she try aluminum foil on her head, like a tin foil, like on her head, and put it on her head. And she said she tried that and it helped for a little bit, but they found a way to get underneath the aluminum foil and still mess with her. So it's almost like when she put the aluminum foil on her head, it's like she was jamming up the signal, like they couldn't reach her. See, it's electronic harassment. It's almost like she was jamming up the signal. But after a while, they figured out how to get up under the aluminum foil, and they started back to banging on her head and all that crazy stuff again. And just got to a point where she said she wanted to commit suicide because nobody was listening to her, and she had a knife or something like that, and her son grabbed the knife like, no, you can't kill yourself. Yeah, well, you can't go around feeling like somebody banging on your head either. But I don't know what good is killing yourself is going to do, because you can try to hurt yourself and then you might not be allowed to die. See, that's the problem with that. It's like it's all, at this point you know that you're not in control, so you can do something really bad to yourself, and then your life is messed up even further, and you have to live through that, because when it gets to that, something that else doing that to your body, you're not in control of your body. With the same thing with me, I have to say I didn't go through anything as severe as her, but I've gone through enough to the point where I just cut off everybody. Like I didn't want to talk to my family or nothing, because I felt like nobody got it. So I just have not been answering my phone when they call, because it's like I felt like I was dealing with something pretty serious. Um, and when it really comes down to it, the best way is to raise your consciousness. But now you're getting to the point where it's hard to try to raise your consciousness by yourself, because whatever has got a hold of you, it's already got a good firm grip. And it's hard to try to raise your consciousness when something's already messing with your mind. It's hard to raise your consciousness like that, and it's to the point where you need help. And this is why I don't like people, because sometimes you need help, and people don't want to take you seriously, and they got this mentality of being an individual. They are severely mistaken by thinking they are an individual. They're not an individual. You think you are an individual, and that's how these entities have so much control over people. That's why they have so much control over the masses, because people think they are individuals when we really are part of a huge whole. And so really, when you get to a point where something has completely got a hold of your mind, it's hard to do it by yourself. It can take up to 5 to 10 years to get this out the way by yourself. But if people come together, it can be out the way in less than a week. It can be out the way in 24 hours. It can be done. But because you have to do this stuff by yourself, and it can be done, but it's gonna take a long time because you keep trying to do it yourself, and you already compromised. You're already compromised, but you got to do it yourself, because people just ain't they not trying to help each other like that these days. It's not that they're not trying to help each other. They're not spiritual. People are no longer spiritual. So let me tell you something. When they said pray to Jesus, I'm not against that. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not against that. I'm not a Christian, but I'm not a Christian because that's a label. That's why I'm not a Christian. That's a label. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not against Jesus. I know people like to talk about Jesus. Jesus for me is on the inside of you. It has nothing to do with a man, a white man, or a black man. Because people they like, oh, he wasn't white, he was black. It ain't got nothing to do with no black man either. Jesus is about you. It's on the inside of you. They chose to give it the name called Jesus. Before Jesus, it was called something else. But it's really on the inside of you, and it's about reaching a certain level of consciousness, reaching a certain level of enlightenment. And Jesus is the higher you. Jesus is the higher you. There are levels of you, and Jesus is the higher you. Now that's just for me. Okay. So if somebody else chooses to believe that Jesus is some physical person on the outside that's going to come and save you, that's their business. I'm not going to tell them what to believe. I'm not going to say they wrong. I'm not going to say they right. I'm just going to say what I choose to believe based on the work I've done for myself. But if somebody else chooses to believe another way, that's that's on them. That's their right. And sometimes it continues to work for them because um, their own soul is dealing with them. Right? They're in their own journey. Okay, I had to get to a point where I had to start looking within and start believing what's within me, because it got to a point when I was looking at what was on the outside, it was no longer working for me. And then when I would call, it would be no answers. So, see, I had to get to the point with no longer looking on the outside and looking within. But if that person is still looking at something on the outside and praying for something on the outside, and it seems to be working, then that's their journey. Their journey is not taking them to look within yet. It really all depends on what a person is. But be that as it may, even if they did believe on something on the outside, it's this story that Bobby Hemmett told about Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson was telling somebody, I don't know if it was a pastor, but he was talking to somebody about how these people planted this chip in him, like the government, the CIA, whoever. They planted this chip in him to like basically spy on him, but he had a chip in him, and the chip was kind of driving him crazy. Like it was driving him crazy. By the way, I believe this is what was going on with Martin Lawrence when he was waving his gun in the street. But let me talk about Michael Jackson. So he said he had this chip in his head, and I don't know who put it there, but nobody has to physically put it there, and that's the thing. And it was driving him nuts. It was driving him crazy, like he couldn't take it no more. And so this person took him to their church, and this was like this was some true Christians right here. This some true, like they were true. And so they went, and when they took him to this church, all of them come together, start praying for him, praying, 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 and all of that energy that was coming from those people that was praying for Michael Jackson helped to dissolve that whatever was in his head or whatever was going on with him. It helped, all those prayers helped to dissolve it, and that's what I'm talking about right there. So when that person say that her parents just say pray to Jesus, I don't have anything against what their beliefs are. My only problem would be if they did not want to take her seriously. That's what my problem would be. Them not taking her seriously. You know. Um, Same thing when I listen to this guy. It's in somewhere in Illinois. It's a church in Illinois. I forget what his name is, but it's kind of a mega church and it's in Illinois. He was talking about how these older people were staying in this neighborhood, and they stayed there for so many years, and they saw that the gangbangers were starting to come into the neighborhood, and just the neighborhood was starting to become riddled with crime. And so they went to this pastor, and I wish I could remember his name. I used to like watching him, like about 14 years ago, it's like 15 years ago. I used to like watching him. Anyway, he's in. I don't know if it's Green Forest, Illinois. I don't know. I just know it's Illinois, and he kind of has a mega church. Um, and he's an older gentleman too. Like he might be in his 70s. I know he ain't no younger than 65. So I believe he's in his 70s or maybe even 80. And so what he told these people is to go walk around his neighborhood. I don't know if he joined them, but they walked around the neighborhood, and they had some holy oil, and they were walking up and down the streets with the whole holy oil and praying. And next thing you know, those gang members, they left. Like their energy left that area. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't have anything against somebody who want to believe in Jesus Christ. I don't have anything against that, because bottom line is, when you have a group of people to come together and they have a goal, that level of consciousness, when they come together and they agree like that, as to touch, and the Bible says come together to agree as to touch. They don't tell you to touch and agree. They say come together as to touch. Like as to touch. It's as if you're touching. So holding hands is not necessarily agreements. Okay. But when you come together and you have this common goal, like you come together as one unit, as to touch, then things happen, miracles happen. But when you leave it to somebody to do all this stuff by themselves and don't want to take them seriously, and they in this fight by themselves, it can take longer because they already compromised. And people not spiritual these days. They're just not. But yeah, I start talking to my family. I'll just ask my family, pray for me. It's nothing wrong if they are. I have nothing against prayer. I have nothing against what they call Jesus. If they choose to believe on something that's outside of them, that's fine. But if they choose to believe on the inside, it's fine. Because either way, I'm seeing that the prayer it gets answered. I still see that it gets answered. This lady that was talking to Quatita, Miss a Walk with the Ancestors, she kept praying and kept praying and kept praying. It seemed like it was never answered. Why? Because she by herself. She's by herself. Nobody's taking her seriously. She told her friends. People say speak up. She told her family. She told her friends. She went to the doctor. And I'm gonna tell you, when she went to the doctors, I could tell that the doctors knew what was going on, but they wanted to BS her. The doctors knew what was going on, but they did not want to give her the answer. They just kept BSing her. But if she would have had a people around her that would say, come to this group and we need to pray together, I strongly believe she would not have them, like, within 24 to 48 hours, her problems would have been gone if she would have had a group of people that said, "Look, let's pray for you." But they just like something is wrong. But you know why that is? Because they get in your mind to mess with your perception. And so when they get in your mind to mess with your perception is reality. So her perception showed her that nobody really cared about her because they messed with her mind to mess with her perception. And you can't get around your perception. Perception is reality. You can't get around that. Like when she needs to see it another way, you can't see it another way. I would like to see $1 million. I would like to perceive that I can just go out and buy a house. So I feel like I stopped talking to my family because I feel like I'm kind of alone. And I didn't want to talk to nobody. Like if you can't, here's the thing. I want to talk to people who are spiritual. And I'm talking about people who are serious, like they understand what stuff is. Like I don't want to talk to nobody who's not gonna take me seriously. And it's like, well, I don't have nothing else to say. This is what I'm dealing with. I don't want to talk about nothing else because and then people say, well, try to take your mind off of it. No, it's not about you taking your mind off of it. This thing is you're already compromised. It has nothing to do with you taking your mind off of it because it's already in your mind. It ain't got nothing to do with you taking your mind off of it. You can try to take your mind off of it, but it's already controlling your mind. So you can't turn your mind nowhere else if it's in control of your mind. And people can say, well, you get to the point where you can do this. Yeah, you can get to the point, but it can take 5 years because you're doing it by yourself. You can get to that point, and I'm getting to that point, and I have cut everybody off because I'm trying to get to that point. I feel like they compromise by not even taking the shit seriously. They let me know something gonna happen to them. Yeah, you can get to that point, but it's gonna take a while longer, and it's gonna be exhausting because you're doing it by yourself. You know. But anyway, so babe, to end this, I'm about to end this. To end this, it's electronic harassment. This is something messing with your mind. I've seen several visions of the things I've been going through. Say what you're going through is an experiment. It's a psyop. It's all of those things. Of course, it's not real. It's an illusion, but they messing with your head regardless. But let me tell you, this whole world is a psyop. So going through the things that I've been going through with this lady that was left this message about her going through her psychosis, and what the lady that was talking to Quatita, they're not the only ones. This whole world is a psyop. Everything that we see is a psyop. I don't care. Going to work is a psyop. Paying bills is a psyop. Everything, you were never born. Everything is a psyop. This is a simulation. Everything is a psyop. This is a simulation. That means that nothing is real. Nothing is real, meaning that this is some kind of experiment anyway. We're being used as an experiment. That's it. Everybody's being used. I don't care if they have a great life. I don't care if they have a great life. They are still part of an experiment. Okay, but but some of us. Oh yeah, I said I was gonna end it with that. I'm gonna say what. Let me end with this. Some of us are going through things because it's time for us to rise up in consciousness. It's time for us to rise up in consciousness. And it's time to stop looking to the physical for your help. I've stopped looking at the physical. I told somebody else, I think I left in one of my other messages, that I stopped looking at the physical some time ago. Because when you look at the physical, your perception is being manipulated. Your perception is being manipulated. And so when you look at the physical, it's going to appear that nobody cares about what you're saying. And that's why I don't care about people that's appear to be in the physical. I don't care about them, and I literally, that's why I say I don't care about humanity. I don't care about the folks who I'm seeing on the physical, because I'm seeing perception as reality, and if something is coming from another plane messing with my perception and the way I see the world, then the way that I'm being manipulated, the way my mind is being manipulated, is controlling how I see things. That's why I don't care about the physical no more. I don't care about people or humanity that I see in the physical. That is not what's running the world. What is controlling the world is beyond the physical. And that's what's controlling the physical. And that's how I've learned to see things. And I've learned that my help is not coming from the physical, it's coming from the non-physical, so I don't give much attention to the physical. And so when I start to look at the non-physical, I start to see that I'm really not by myself. But the problem is I have to keep activating it and activating it and activating it. But the thing is, you gotta get to a point where you train your subconscious that it does that like 24/7. It's like muscle memory. Like you have to continue to train yourself that you're not alone. And once you continue to train your subconscious, you literally have to be active with yourself now. Like now you have to be really active with yourself. And when you continue to train your subconscious that you're not alone, then your subconscious is going to be a part of your muscle memory. But the thing is going to take a lot of work because something else has already got control of your consciousness. Okay. And so now it's going to take work because now you got to move them out the way because you're doing it by yourself. Because in the physical, you've been seeing everything in the physical all this time. So now it's gonna take work to realize that everything is coming from the inner. And once you get that down packed, these mofos can't harass you no more. Because all of this is completely harassment. It's harassment. It's electronic harassment. When I was I'm gonna say last year, when I saw what was really harassing me, I saw this tower. It's like it was a tower that I saw that I might have been connected to, like my consciousness was a part of, and that harassment that I was getting is coming from this tower, and this tower is controlled by like what maybe shadow government people who are non-human entities that are non-human entities in other dimensions. It's like a part of the Truman Show, like all this stuff that was happening with Jim Carrey. Every time he tried to do something, he couldn't make it, but he was being controlled by another person that was watching him from a projector screen, watching every move he make. And the minute he tried to do something, they stop it and get in the way. This is the same thing. So I can't get what the people say. Well, you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I don't like all that pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing because somebody else is watching and watching you push, and they seeing you like the Truman Show, and they pressing buttons to stop your efforts. They sitting back effortlessly pressing a finger on a button to stop your efforts while you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Okay, and I know this because I've already seen it. But I cut my family off. I didn't cut them off. I stopped talking to them for a little while because they can't see it yet. And you know what? I don't care. They better be careful judging me because they judge me all they want to. They're gonna end up going through the same things, and then nobody's gonna listen to them because this stuff ain't starting with the physical. And people can say, yeah, it's spiritual. Our words, they can quote all these scriptures that they want to, but they're not really believing in what they're saying because they're not putting what they're saying into real practice. Yeah, the spiritual, the weapons of our warfare are not physical. I get all of that. What do you say? I forget it because I haven't seen it in a while. I get that, but see, people don't put that into practice like that. They say it, but they don't put it into practice. But anyway, that'll be it, and I'll talk later.